Converted man here. I keep telling people to be skeptical, but many people aren't skeptical. So here we have this now, a ship that detects COVID. No, it's not a thing. It doesn't work like that. There is no such thing that can do that. This technology doesn't exist. That's not how things function or work, people. But let's go ahead and dive into this anyways, because it's fun. But first, this is vile. It's all written in the good book. And I knew that would be a reaction to this. Good old Mr. Reagan made a video about this. Now he cites the New York Post. So, is it Reagan's fault that, he's using what he considers to be a reliable source of information to talk about this issue and this topic? Now, did he bother to do any further research on it? No. No, why would he? I mean, this seems to support his his side of the story, his political agenda. So why would he? Right? Well, when one side of the story is all you need, then Anyway, so let's look at the New York Post here. Let's see what they say. Oh, the Pentagon develops implant that could help detect COVID under your skin. Here's a gal with no arms. What's that have to do with it? Nothing. Just there. Medical research is so weird to have that video here. Medical researchers at the Pentagon have created a microsensor, so it's not a microchip, it's a microsensor that may eventually detect COVID-19 when inserted under skin. So it doesn't do it now, but eventually it could. So that means that technology is not yet a thing, but it might eventually be a thing. That's like saying, research has developed a way to make the entire solar system into a rocket ship. Eventually. We haven't done it yet, but, we know it can be done. But relax, conspiracy theorists. They're not being disseminated via vaccines. Why would you put that there? That's stupid. That's like saying, hey, think about this. Look at, look. You don't need to say that. Anyways, the revolutionary subdermal technology was developed by Defense Advanced Research Project agencies, blah, 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 according to Sunday night's broadcast of 60 Minutes. So the New York Post is using a broadcast of 60 Minutes. Well, where did they get their sources from? Why not go to the source? Don't just rely. So the New York Post is relying upon another thing that has talked about it. So we have Mr. Reagan, a YouTuber. He's right leaning. That's why I listen to him, because I want to listen to right and left wing people, and I want to not be in a bubble, and I want to hear everyone's side of the story. And I know that they're biased, and I know they're going to say things that I don't necessarily agree with, but that's why I listen to them. Okay, so we're using the New York, Mr. Reagan using New York Post is using 60 Minutes. Dude, New York Post use this. What? Do some decent journalism and look into what 60 Minutes did, and don't just assume that they did their due diligence. Anyway, so Dr. Matt Hepburn, whatever, blah. So that there's this little tiny green thing in this liquid medium, and this was all said in this 60-minute interview. The researchers claim they've created a subdermal device that will detect C19 when inserted under the skin and other disease-fighting technologies. Well, okay, is that what was claimed, or is that what it seems to be claimed after intense editing of whatever the guy said? Anyway, so then they said, we challenge the research community to come up with solutions that may sound like science fiction. Yeah, okay, whatever. Anyways, so is any of this true? Should we all panic yet? Is it the end of the world, just like was prophesied in Revelation that's about King Nero? No, it's fine. Oh, but yeah, can we really trust the European Union to fact check things? I don't know. But let's look at this. So, anyway, so first and foremost, there's an article. So this is coming from somewhere else. Let's see. Uh, where the Pentagon has developed this thing, and the defense agency is research and development agency. Okay, that's true. The article states the agency has unveiled a chip that can detect signs of the new coronavirus in human bodies within minutes when it's implanted under the skin. After we get in touch with them, turns out the chip is the article is referring actually is like an Proficia implantable biosensor, a device that could provide real-time data on how concentrations of different chemicals change in response to illness, injury, activities, daily life, and wear. So, did this thing work? We'd have to look into that now. Moreover, the agency emphasizes that the hydrogel is inert, does not have any electronic components, and is of similar material to a contact lens or corneal implant. For these reasons, it cannot be called a chip. So, calling it a chip is wrong. But people are lazy, so they're going to call it chip even though it's not a chip, but whatever. Okay, it's something that you can inject that might show that you have this disease, but it doesn't even do that yet. It's not even a thing that actually does that, but maybe it could be made to do that at some point. Then they go on to say, yeah, there are people that have been shipped with actual microchips. It's 6,000 Swedish. Okay, so that's true. People are using chips inside of their bodies to do various things. Maybe get in their office buildings, gym pass, buy food, uh, instead of train tickets, etc. Okay, so yeah, people have been doing that, and so that is a possible thing that people can do. Is it possible to develop the microchips to detect and hold information regarding C19? Maybe, but not right now. It's not yet a thing, but that's a separate technology. What about this technology? Does the implant detect C19? It's citing this guy who has been program manager at DARPA for 6 years and been managing the project. So he doesn't use the words coronavirus or C19 or SARS-CoV-2 in any of the cited statements. Nor has he used them in the CBS show 60 Minutes, which is the source of the information. So they're saying that he said something that he didn't say. So they're extracting this idea from nowhere and nothing. So you have an expert talking about this potential technology, and then they're making a story around that. In addition, the answer received from DARPA points out that Profeta first received funding through a small grant way before this. So technology could conceivably help to detect early onset of illness. It's possible to detect C19, but it was not the main purpose of uh, the agency will developing the technology. So there you go. Okay. So what about this other implant and other biosensors and all this? Do those work? Are those actually things? What do they do? And here's this video on that. I gotta have to link that in the description. Um, and I don't know, because you'd have to look at it. But here's one guy saying, here's this technology and here's what it could do. So what you have to be aware of when looking at these things is to realize that they are raising awareness of this in order to get funding, from the government, to get funding from the public, to get interest into it. If this was something that they wanted to keep secret, they would never tell us about it. We wouldn't know anything about it ever. Period. End of story. We would hear nothing about it. If it's a secret, they don't typically advertise the secret. Otherwise, It's not a secret. Duh. So the thing is, with any electronic device, it has to have power. Without power, it will not function. So if you have a chip in you, it has to have some sort of battery. It has to have maybe a solar unit attached to it, which will be bulky. So either you'll have, and the battery might have a long lifespan, but eventually you're going to have to go in and get that battery replaced, or you're going to have a way to charge the battery. Now, of course, you have wireless phone chargers. Maybe you could use something like that, but eventually, at some point, the battery will wear out, and you will have to have a new battery put in or new device put in. And as far as detecting diseases, maybe that could be a thing at some point, but it's not a thing right now. And certainly something as small as that green thing that they showed suspended in liquid wouldn't be able to do that on its own. It would need supplemental technology to do. I know we've come far in our technology, but we haven't come that far yet. So, what we have here is in the interview, and I guess I'll have to find the interview and link that as well, the 60 Minutes interview. In that interview, what they do is they have a guy come on that's like the head of the thing. He's not the guy that worked directly on the stuff or whatever. He's the head, hinky dink. He's a public relations kind of thing or whatever maybe, but he doesn't know all the stuff. But anyways, he says, yeah, we're developing this new thing. It's really cool, and it could be used to detect different things. And then the 60 Minutes interviewer cuts him off and cut to a different shot where the guy has already left and gone about his day, so he can say, hey, everybody, they're developing a thing. Yay! And why would they do that? Because the story is more interesting that way. It gets people to tune into 60 Minutes and watch the entire 60 minutes of 60 Minutes. Otherwise, you'd have a guy saying, we're working on a technology that doesn't yet do anything, but eventually we hope that it might do something one day. And that's not really much of a story. It is a story, but it's not as engaging of a story. So C19, that's a hot button topic. So let's hype it up and let's pretend it's something it's not. And then before you know it, you have fake news. And then you have those that want to engage in different conversation, but for whatever reason are limiting themselves because of their personal bias, aren't going to look further into the matter. So the New York Post is doing a disservice to people by not doing the full research. And the 60 Minutes people are doing a disservice to people by not presenting the actual story. But as a skeptically minded person would say, we should know that going in, that the news is not going to give you necessarily all the information. It's going to give you at best a surface level headline to get your attention and to click. And you're going to have to go look for the actual data because they might not even cite it. So maybe let's just save a step and not even bother with the news organizations and go to the data and see what that says. What we need is clear communicators of science to talk about these things and explain these things in ways that people can understand. That's what we don't have. And unfortunately, on YouTube, you have really big people out there that are getting more and more followers that are politically charged, either to the left, to the right, or whatever, angle they want to lean at. And those people are going to bring their personal beliefs and biases into their reporting. So they're not actually reporting either. They're just talking about things that caught their eye. And it seems like reporting because they're very sophisticated, smooth talkers, they're interesting people, And hey, look, I've listened to this Mr. Reagan guy for a while. He is interesting to listen to. He's got the right voice and all that. But at the end of the day, he's just a guy and he's not doing the best in-depth research that he could do. And that's what he, Is that something bad? Yes, but that's what he's doing, and okay. We've got to be skeptical. We've got to go deeper and not just look at the surface and go, oh no! And of course, those that believe that Revelation speaks of the mark of the beast being something put on your wrist or on your forehead, and that will identify you, and without it you won't be able to get money, you won't be able to pay for things, etc. And people freaked out about this when Social Security numbers were a thing. So much so that the Social Security Administration promised that 666 would never be um, lined up in a row on your number. That it would be 665, but it would, then it would be a 6 again if needed. But they would do every other combination, and they would make sure that would never happen. Well, what about 610, which is the actual, or is it when 16? I keep forgetting if it's 610 or 616. But those are that one of those is the real thing. So what about that? Well, but this kind of thing was a fear when that was a thing, and then again when other technology developed, oh no, that's the mark of the beast. So, and then people were messing about with implanting chips early on, and people were like, oh, that's the mark of the beast. It's only a matter of time before the government forces people to do this. It didn't happen. And of course you could do Apple Pay, where you just wave a device, a thing over a scanner, and beep, you paid for it. Well, you can put the same thing in your arm, the same chip and the same device. You could implant it in you and wave your arm over it, and beep, and there you go. You've paid for your thing. And people are like, oh, that's the mark of the beast. Yeah, any day now, any moment, it's gonna, this is gonna be the thing that they force us to do, and they want us to do, and they'll make us do it, and you won't be able to do anything with that. People have the same fear about credit cards when they were a thing. People have been waiting and scared of the end for a long, long time. It's not happening. Revelation was and is about King Nero, but the religious people don't understand that. They don't believe it. They don't want to believe it. They would rather believe in the end times and think that that's around the corner. And of course, there's charlatans out there who will say that it is around the corner, that it's coming soon. I just had recently seen a video that was like 2 years old, like, oh, it's coming anytime. And I said, this is a funny video. I mean, it's hilarious that you think it's any time now, because it's been 2 years since you made this video. Aren't you ashamed of that? Aren't you? No, no, no. And it's like the camping guy that said the world was going to end at a certain date. And actually, some people did believe him. And that's sad. He just ran away with that. He just, went into hiding. Then I think he's dead now. But, you've got to be skeptical of the headlines and of YouTube. And that, yes, that includes me, but it means to withhold a decision until you have more data, until the argument is better. And sadly, Mr. Reagan goes, I think, too far in saying, oh, this is what the government wants to do. It's going to do it, kind of thing. And I think, yeah, it's like, yeah, right, citations. This technology doesn't even work like you're saying it would. And I do hope Thunderfoot or somebody big like him will cover the science about this and blow it out of the water. And I hope other more scientifically minded people that have much bigger bases than I do cover this and blow it out of the water, because it does need to be explained what it really is and how it really works. But until then, be skeptical. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Well, you'll see me. Well, you'll see my avatar. You know what I mean.